Welcome to Millennial Money Minutes, where we tackle tough personal finance topics in 5 minutes or less. With your host, Grant from MillennialMoney.com and Matt from DistilledDollar.com.
Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about index funds. So this was a listener question. Cody Harter wrote to us and said, hey, I was wondering if you could do a show on index funds, things to look for, fees, and just overall how to find the best ones. Love the show. Well, thanks, Cody. We really appreciate that. So today, in honor of Cody, we're going to talk about index funds. I believe we talked about this in episode 2 or 3 of the podcast, so we're going to bring it forward here into the future. Index funds, what do you think about them, Matt?
Yeah, I mean, let's say, really old school episode. Yeah, like way back, like top first 10. But yeah, index funds are great. They're definitely the approach I take. And like Cody mentioned in his question, their fees are fantastic. So index funds are known for basically being a collection of individual stocks, and then they basically just sell them as an aggregate pool. So the fund that you're buying it's indexed to, in this case, the S&P 500, or it could be whatever benchmark you choose. And so an index fund gives you an opportunity to kind of buy a slice of the market. So I'm all about it. And I think it's a great approach, especially because it's just very simple. It doesn't require too much thought. It's just basically, buy a slice of the whole economy, and just, things go up over time, progress is made, and you can benefit from that. So that's my 2 cents.
That's your 2 cents. So just for some specifics, Cody, I personally invest in a number of index funds, but 2 of the top ones, the Vanguard Total Stock Market Index, a simple way to invest in that, VTI, it's just the Vanguard Total Stock Market ETF. It has an expense ratio of 0.04%, so super low, super cheap. That, to Matt's point, that tracks the entire stock market. I'm also a big fan of the Vanguard Total International Stock Market Fund, which basically tracks a number of international stocks. I balance between the two. I'm about 70% domestic, 30% international at any given time. Those are 2 of my favorites that I invest in. What about you, Matt? Are you all in the Total Stock Market Index Fund?
Yeah, basically, 100%. I do own a couple individual shares, but yeah, basically it's basically 99% Total Stock Market Index. The only thing I would change to that was maybe include an international fund. But my defense to that is, if you look at the basically the largest companies, it's the top thousands of companies in the U.S. A lot of their revenue is overseas, and I think the S&P 500, it's over 60% of revenue is generated overseas. So you are seeing international exposure by buying U.S. equities. So yeah, I think that's the best route. And one extra thing you said about the fees. One thing I'll add is, some people, they say, oh, I've got a Vanguard index fund, low fee, 0.4 or 5%, which is great. But, keep in mind, if that fund is being held in a 401k or something like that, there might be an additional fee on top of that. So just keep in mind things like that when you're looking at overall fees.
Yeah, another great one to look at is the Vanguard 500 ETF. It's symbol VOO. So it invests mainly in stocks in large U.S. companies, but has about 15% of its holdings in mid-sized stocks, and it costs just 0.05% annually. So basically what the Vanguard 500 ETF is instead of tracking the entire stock market, it tracks the Standard & Poor's 500 index. So it's a weighted index basically meaning that like the stocks that are included are the ones that have the largest market values. So in that case, like the holdings are Apple and all of the biggest companies out there. So pretty similar to the Total Stock Market Index Fund, but the 500 might outperform the total market a little bit, but they're very similar. And another thing to note is, there's tons and tons of index funds, and they're not just stock index funds. There's bond funds as well, and a lot of people recommend that you do, a bond stock sort of diversification. At 32, I'm still 100% invested in equities. Haven't found the need to diversify yet with bonds, but something you should definitely consider. And the final thing, check out the Emerging Market Index ETF, VWO, which is, basically it's tough to wager on whether emerging markets are going to grow in the future, but a lot of people think that there's a lot of upside there. So check that one out as well. Any final thoughts, Matt?
Yeah, the one last thing is, if you're looking to get started, with Vanguard, you can buy ETFs for less than $100, I'm pretty sure, or maybe just over $100. And then pretty soon you'll upgrade to investor shares. Those are typically around $1,000, maybe $3,000. And those might have a little higher expense ratio. But if you keep investing, you'll make your way up to the Admiral shares, which are usually around $10,000. And that'll then kind of push you into that very low fee. So if you are looking up some of these funds and you see a higher fee, it's usually because it's an ETF or it's the investor share. And again, once you invest into it, you'll gain access to those Admiral shares and those lower fees.
Yeah, and even though we're recommending Vanguard, there's a number of companies, Schwab Total Stock Market Index, Charles Schwab, are actively trying to outprice Vanguard right now, so you might be able to find a deal. There's a lot of firms that offer a total stock market fund, but make sure you look for the ones with the low fees. Those certainly add up. So hope this was helpful, and really appreciate your question, Cody, and we'll chat with you soon.
Thanks for listening to Millennial Money Minutes. If you liked this podcast, please leave us a review on iTunes and subscribe. If you want us to cover a specific topic, use #MillennialMoney on Twitter or visit millennialmoneyminutes.com.